already a few weeks into the new year and we've managed to avoid that topic. You can't say that's all I do anymore. Yeah! Well, poo.
Newton theorized, and it is now commonly taught, that the Earth's ocean tides are caused by gravitational lunar attraction.
Okay, yeah. That's one of the things that helps cause tides. You also have Earth's spin, the sun, the shape of the continent will affect it too, obviously. That's one of the reasons they aren't the exact same everywhere. Where you going with this, mate? I'm afraid to ask, because it's always somewhere really, really dumb. And I've run out of Christmas gift alcohol. Might have to move on to the National Bubble Wrap Appreciation Day alcohol that I have spare for that celebration. It's real, and I celebrate all obscure celebrations.
If the moon is only 2,160 miles in diameter, and the Earth 8,000 miles, however, using their own math and law, it follows that the Earth is 87 times more massive, and therefore the larger object should attract the smaller to it, and not the other way around.
God damn it, I knew it would be stupid. I'll just put that to one side, lest I need the stress relief later. Dude, look at your picture. What is being pulled? It's not the Earth itself, although technically that is being pulled toward the moon too, but look, that's water. The moon is tugging on the water. The water is not attached directly to the Earth, so of course the moon can have an influence on it. Everything is in some small way gravitationally attracted to everything else. It's just more obvious on some things than others.
If the Earth's greater gravity is what keeps the moon in orbit, it is impossible for the moon's lesser gravity to supersede the Earth's gravity at Earth's sea level, where its gravitational attraction would even further out-trump the moon's.
No, that's wrong. Both the Earth and the moon are pulling on the water. It's like a tug of war. If you don't have the other team, you just have a bunch of dudes dragging a rope indefinitely. Same is true with the Earth's bodies of water. Let me use the tug of war analogy again. If you had this dude, Hathor Bjornsson, and his big, sexy, his non-attractive, completely non-sexually confusing muscles, pulling the rope against a child, so long as the child never let go, the rope would still be affected by the child's mass as he's dragged through fields and forests as Hathor went to use the rope to tie up blue whales or whatever it is he does in his spare time. The rope would not move in the same way had there been no tiny human attached. It is not a zero-sum game when it comes to forces.
Not to mention, the velocity and path of the moon are uniform, and should therefore exert a uniform influence on the Earth's tides.
Okay, we're going to have to ignore what you just said there and focus on this masterpiece of logic. Gravity. Strong enough to hold oceans to a spinning ball, yet weak enough that birds still fly? Now remind me, what kind of force is water exerting that would allow it to push up and away from the Earth? Because that's what the bird's doing. It's using lift from air currents and its own flapping to push it into the sky. And let's not forget that the same volume of water to the amount of space that the bird takes up, the bird is almost certainly a lot lighter with the feathers and the hollow bones and water? Well, it's water. It's a lot more dense.
Not to mention, the velocity and path of the moon are uniform, and should therefore exert a uniform influence on the Earth's tides.
What? Sorry, but there are other forces at play when it comes to the tides. Even if the moon was the only thing having a gravitational effect on the oceans, you still have other forces at play, like inertia. The water doesn't just stop moving when it's around the other side of the Earth, you know. And as I said before, the shapes of the coastlines and continents are going to have a massive impact on what happens where and when, and how things are deflected from one place to another. How can someone be this dense? Oh yeah, flat earther. I always forget.
When in actuality, the Earth's tides vary greatly.
Like the people who study tides and ocean currents. They just hadn't noticed. Did you ever stop to think that maybe there's an explanation as to why everyone who works in fields studying these things hadn't noticed this fact until Commander Doofus here and his mighty brain pointed it out? I would love to see the comparison chart between the average flatard's IQ and their perception of their own IQ. And I don't think that they would be as dumb as you'd expect, but they would definitely think they are a lot smarter than they are. What's the old phrase? The fundamental cause of the trouble in the modern world today is that the stupid are cocksure while the intelligent are full of doubt. I wonder which you are.
Furthermore, if ocean tides are caused by the moon's gravitation, how is it that lakes, ponds, and other smaller bodies of standing water remain outside the moon's grasp, while the gigantic oceans are so affected?
They are! In fact, the largest lakes on Earth, including Lake Superior, have visible tides. And let's just talk about those smaller lakes where you would have more difficulty seeing tides. You just answered your own completely missing follow-up question as to why don't we really see it? Size! I mean, this is Lake Superior and its buddies. Pretty big bodies of water, right? Well, let's have a look over here at the ocean. No, that's a bit bigger. Almost like it's going to be way more obvious when you see the effects of tides.
Thomas Winship wrote, "If the moon lifted up the water, it is evident that near the land the water would be drawn away and low instead of high tide caused. Again, the velocity and path of the moon are uniform."
That doesn't make any sense. Is he saying that the moon is pulling the water out like by miles and miles? What? How could it even? Is that what he thought anyone believed? The man was clearly an idiot. But even if it did do that, the tide moves towards the land because the moon travels over the land as well. It doesn't just hang out over the oceans. God, my head's starting to hurt. Gonna need that bubble wrap again soon, I'm sure.
And it follows that if she exerted any influence on the earth, that influence could only be a uniform influence. But the tides are not uniform.
No, they aren't. But that doesn't even come remotely close to proving anything like a flat earth. They are pretty much exactly what you would expect on a globe because, shockingly, that's exactly what it is.
At Port Natal, the rise and fall is about 6 feet, while at Beira, about 600 miles up the coast, the rise and fall is 26 feet. This effectually settles the matter that the moon has no influence on the tides.
No, it doesn't, you arrogant little twit. Holy Christ, is anyone else getting sign of a migraine from the insufferable air of smugness that can only ever come from one who has literally no idea what they are talking about? I swear to God, if he keeps this up, I'm gonna...
Tides are caused by the gentle and gradual rise and fall of the earth on the bosom of the mighty deep.
I'm sorry, what now? What the frigazzle is the mighty deep? Do you mean this idea? The great deep, as it's referred to here, where the earth is sat on an even bigger ocean. I'm not sure if this is the same idea because this one has foundations on it. But then again, proponents of this are saying the exact same nonsense you do, pretty much word for word. And let's just say this is what you mean. Where exactly is your evidence for any of this? Surely if you were sat in that little earth basin, you wouldn't know what it looks like, especially seeing as it's apparently not possible to explore over those mountains as someone would have by now. Also, how is the Great Deep causing tides if we're on foundations? And surely it would cause those uniform tides you were talking about before, unless there is something making the Great Deep not uniform. At which point you need to tell me what that is. Gibberish heaped upon gibberish, a working scientific theory does not make.
In inland lakes, there are no tides, which also proves that the moon cannot attract either the earth or water to cause tides.
It took me a while to figure out exactly what you were trying to prove here, and then it struck me. You think that the raising and lowering smoothly of any body of water is not part of tidal forces? But it is. What you seem to mean by tides is apparently waves. My God, you have the understanding of an infant, don't you?
But the fact that the basin of the lake is on the earth which rests on the waters of the deep shows that no tides are possible, as the waters of the lakes together with the earth rise and fall, and thus the tides at the coast are caused, while there are no tides on waters unconnected with the sea.
I've run out of bubble wrap, people. Hard liquor it is. You are repeating yourself, and you are still wrong, and with no evidence to back up your claim. Just conjecture about complete, nonsensical gibberspeak.
David Wardlaw Scott wrote, "Even Sir Isaac Newton himself confessed that the explanation of the moon's action on the tides was the least satisfactory part of his theory of gravitation."
Wait, why are you quoting someone apparently quoting someone else? It's almost like you can't actually find him saying that anywhere. So you had to get a quote of someone making it up. Now, I could be wrong. Maybe he did say that. And if he did, so what? Someone coming up with a new set of ideas isn't going to get everything spot on right away, or understand what they have discovered ultimately means. That's why we don't base our scientific understanding on what the pioneers of an idea didn't know or got wrong. We base it on what they did and improve.
This theory asserts that the larger object attracts the smaller.
No, actually, the more massive an object attracts the less massive object. That's why you can have a neutron star be about 20 kilometers in diameter, but have 1.4 times the mass of our sun and the gravitational pull to match. Do you do any research outside of flat earth blogs, or do the crayon diagrams and third grade writing level make you feel more comfortable?
And the mass of the moon being reckoned as only 1/8 of that of the earth, it follows that if, by the presumed force of gravitation, the earth revolves round the sun, much more for the same reason should the moon do so likewise, instead of which that willful orb still continues to go round our world.
The moon does orbit the sun. What do you think it's doing as it orbits us if we orbit the sun? And can you please point me to the person who hit you over the head with a frying pan so many times as a child? They need to go to prison.
Tides vary greatly in height, owing chiefly to the different configurations of the adjoining lands. At Chepstow it rises to 60 feet, at Portishead to 50.
Wait, so you do understand that the geography of land masses will have an impact on tide height? What is wrong with you? How do you keep putting two and two together and coming up with sandwich? God, I'm hungry.
While at Dublin Bay it is but 12, and at Wexford only 5 feet. That the earth itself has a slight tremulous motion may be seen in the movement of the spirit level, even when fixed as steadily as possible, and that the sea has a fluctuation may be witnessed by the oscillation of an anchored ship in the calmest day of summer.
That was very poetic. I have to assume that you're quoting people again, because I struggle to believe someone as dumb as you can words that well. Either that, or you got a word-a-day calendar and you are milking that crap.
By what means the tides are so regularly affected is at present only conjectured. Possibly it may be by atmospheric pressure on the waters of the great deep, and perhaps even the moon itself, as suggested by the late Dr. Robotham, may influence the atmosphere, increasing or diminishing its barometric pressure, and indirectly the rise and fall of earth in the waters.
Are you C-wording kidding me? So after all this, the moon can't affect the tides, Oh, but it can totally affect air pressure to such a degree that it causes literal tsunamis and crap. My Sky Daddy, this was a first of the year, and honest to goodness, I think this might well have been the dumbest and most arrogant yet. This was painful. So look forward to a bunch more this year, as these buggers are apparently bloody everywhere. See you in the next one, everyone. I'm off to go drown myself in tideless whiskey.